one-sided, a bit unfair to them. In the second half, they let the two Ryan Morgan tries, and the first Ryan Morgan try of that second half was absolutely brilliant. But there was also the penalty goal before that stretched it out to a 6-point lead,
Yeah.
and that was during the sin bin period. So I sort of thought they'd let themselves down there by not capitalising on that period quite enough. After scoring a cracking try on half time, they didn't make much in the second half, the start of the second half, and then they gave a penalty away, which I think's criminal in a situation where you're chasing a game and you've got a man advantage, because
Yeah,
it takes a
they're
minute
always
off the
they're always
clock
going to
as
kick it
well
in that period. Yeah.
even if it doesn't go over, you've lost a minute of the man in the bin. So they kind of kick themselves in a little bit there, and so it kind of got away from them after that. Ryan Morgan's first try, for all the chat about his second try, this first try for me was the try of the game. It all sort of started off that, and one of the tries of the weekend, it all started off that loosish kind of basketball pass offload off the floor, bounced it up off the floor from Luke Thompson, who was impressive again, and it landed in it ended up with Percival via Farge, I think. But Percival basically was stepping one guy, then pushing another guy off, then stepping another guy, then handing another guy off. Then he delivered a beautiful flick pass to Richardson in space, and it went through Richardson and Makinson, who both did well to draw their players, for Morgan to have a relatively easy finish. But it was absolutely fantastic play, particularly by Percival and Richardson. Now Richardson was the man of the match, like David said. I thought he was really, really good in this game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think on from Witness's point of view, though, there, as you said, the kind of the German internationals try was. I'm not saying it was quite as good as the Morgan one, but if you look at the hands that it goes through and the kind of the movement and that kind of stuff, that was a fantastic try.
Oh yeah,
and kind of crucial time as well. So this showed stuff. You just don't see enough of it from Melody. You just don't see it often. You see sparks, but you don't see it consistently into the game, and that's the killer, really.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, losing Hanbury didn't help, does it? I mean, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's having to rejig yourself. That's no. That's no easy thing.
I can't remember when he went off. I just remember at some point seeing Stephen Marsh at fullback and thinking, "Oh, that's the game gone."
Well, yeah. I mean, because obviously, because I kind of came around to sit with you just before this game kicked off. I think. Oh no, it was the thing, wasn't it? But anyway,
second game, yeah.
It wasn't anyway, yeah. But yeah, so we were. I think we were just chatting. I think we just missed the guy going off. I think, to be honest with you, but it was early. It was very early. It must have been in the 10th minute or something like that, maybe even earlier than that. So yeah, that kind of thing has a major impact when one of your spine players goes, and you can't expect Marsh to kind of to replicate what Hanbury brings to you, can you? No. Even if Hanbury's running at 50%, Marsh is never going to do that.
The one thing that taking Hanbury off does, or Hanbury being off does, is it kind of means that the defence doesn't just slide to where Hanbury is, which is what they were doing when he was on the pitch, and they were pretty much able to cover that. But whenever Widnes used that to their advantage and hit the front man, they actually did some good stuff. Sam Weil had a couple of good runs. I thought he was quite impressive in the game. And Matt Whitley, every time I watch Widnes, is the best Widnes player pretty much. So I'm really impressed by him still. And for Saints, it's the players who've been impressing us all year. It's the young guys, Luke Thompson and Danny Richardson, who were just playing as top draw players who were in the international conversation. And obviously Barber and Percival are already that sort of level of player.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, every time you saw Thompson kind of take the ball up, you saw players kind of, it felt like you saw players scattered.
Yeah.
As he was kind of coming through, and yeah, the guy's devastating. He's clearly the best prop in the Super League this year, quite frankly, so far.
I agree. Okay, I don't have the team stats because I haven't had time to put those down and pick out any nuggety information, so I apologise for that. But I have picked out the individual ones because that's a bit easier to do. So Regan Grace had 2 tries and 109 metres. Tommy Makinson a try assist and 119 metres. So contributions from both wingers. And then Luke Thompson 11 marker tackles and 166 metres. So going both ways, working hard up and down the hill.
In both ways.
Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook 115 metres for him too. He's impressed a lot this year too, and if Luke Thompson hadn't been so fantastically brilliant, Louis LMS would be getting a lot more rave reviews than he's even getting. What he has done is made up for the loss of Alex Walmsley. For the Widnes side, Matt Whitley with a try, 131 metres, 3 successful offloads. Hep Cahill with 51 tackles, 12 marker tackles and 100 metres. He is a definite both-wayer. Sam Wilde, 1 try assist and 42 tackles. Nearly 100 metres as well from Sam Wilde. Nearly a try as well. Patty Arvan, 114 metres for the slowest winger in Super League. Okay, moving on to...
I love Paddy. I love Paddy. He might not be very good, but I like him.
Yeah, he's not terrible.
He's not terrible.
Past his prime. Moving on to what was the biggest, most important and greatest game of the weekend. I'm sure everyone would agree. But in fairness, it was the two form sides who matched up in the second Super League game of day one. And it was second against third as well. And it ended up Wigan 38, Warrington 10. It was 16-10 at half time. So Wigan won the second half by 28 points to 0 against Warrington, so keeping up that second half winning record. Robert Hicks was the man with the whistle, and the first fan review comes from a Warrington fan.
It does. So Wire Joe says, welcome back to the Warrington Wolves of 2017. Indisciplined in defence and lacking any go forward or cutting edge in attack. Credit to Wigan, they physically dominated us all day and deserved the win. The best team on the day won, but we'll have to make sure to fix up and get our own back in the cup in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, they get to do it again very soon. St David said, Wigan better throughout, with and without the ball. Very impressive. Tompkins, Farrell, Luluai and Bateman were classy. How fat is Josh Charnley? Marshall went by him like he was a bollard.
I think that's unfair. He tracked him down. He caught him from behind, didn't he?
No. Well, he did eventually, yeah. But
he did.
He did eventually, yeah. But it didn't stop the try.
I'm not saying he didn't. Well, no, he didn't stop the try. But what I'm saying is, you can't. I think it's a bit unfair to go around saying that when actually over the kind of the however long the run was, he did actually catch up to him and he did tackle him.
He did.
Now, yeah. So come on, David.
Tom Eckley says, it's you actually, isn't it?
Yeah. You might have won the battle, but you've not won the war in this epic 5-game series. One apiece.
Yeah. It is, and we've got plenty more to come. I think they might end up playing potentially more than 5 games with a semi-final and grand final up for grabs too. Mark W said, top performance from Wigan. Tompkins put in a great stint, which should reassure Wigan fans he means business in his last season. I thought they might struggle without Sean O'Loughlin, but you'd never know he was gone.
So Sarah says, Warrington looked to have given up by about 60 minutes. Wigan scored some nice tries, but I'm afraid as a neutral, it didn't do a lot for me. She said, sorry, Mark.
I thought it was a fantastic game, Sarah. So I don't know what you were watching, love. Ollie Smith.
I'm gonna say, don't worry, Sarah. I don't think you'd have noticed either way.
No,
anyway,
we had a good chat about it on Sunday. I think I was like, what about it? It was a cracking game. Ollie Smith said, great atmosphere for this one, although I thought Wire were soft at times. Wigan were too strong and controlled the game very well. Best performance of the day for me.
Well, I think you agree with that, but anyway. And Tim Gradio says, maybe it's not their year. Well, one swallow doesn't make a summer and all that. As they say, there's more than one game to come yet.
That's absolutely true. And they were going to lose it again at some point. You would have expected. No one could see that Warrington side going unbeaten for the rest of the year, but they were going really, really well, and they were improving in defence, which they'd been improved all year, and they were definitely improving in attack, particularly since the arrival of Mr. Charnley. But Wigan were the better side in this game. They did what I've talked about repeatedly over the last 2 months, which is winning the physical battle on the opposition team's exit set and limiting them on those exit sets, and that really set a platform for a great second half from Wigan. A second half where they scored some Some nice tries, a bit off the cuff at times, and took advantage of Warrington having to force things as well at times. But
Yeah, I definitely thought that kind of towards where Sarah says after 60 minutes. After 60 minutes, Warrington they were having to force it. They were having to do things that they wouldn't normally do because Wigan had put them under pressure and because they were, more than 2 scores down. They were having to push things, and sometimes those things come off for you and you kind of get yourself back in, and sometimes it comes back and bites you, and you end up further down. And it came back and bit them. Some of those things, they're not things that they would have practiced or intended to do. It's what you do when you're under pressure.
Yeah, it was that.
You try to get back in the game, aren't you? And you look at it. There's 3 tries in the last. Two tries.
2 tries and a penalty in the last 10 minutes. Yeah.
10 minutes.
It was those 2 tries. It was those 2 tries back to back, pretty much. The John Bateman one where he absolutely ripped through them, hot knife through butter and all that sort of stuff with his double step for his try, and the George Williams try that was the Liam Marshall build up where he kind of faked to sort of slow down and maybe threaten a cut inside or a pass, so Charlie backed off and then he went again, Marshall did, and then he threw a great offload that just looped into the supporting George Williams, and I think George Williams was brilliant in this game, and so was Sam Tompkins. And when you're playing against the other top sides, and these are the kind of games you want them to shine every week, but I don't think there's that many players who will do that consistently week in, week out. But you want your top players to shine, and your 2 marquee players shining on the big stage, because the Magic Weekend is a big stage and a game against a close rival in every sense this year with Warrington. And I think you've got to say that those 2 players were the best 2 players on the pitch in that game. I mean, the Ginger Pearl wasn't far behind as well, I thought, and John Bateman was fantastic too. But Wigan just had great performances across the park completely, and it was enjoyable to see. In terms of running through a few of the bits, the Sam Powell try was maybe a little bit contentious. I certainly don't think it was a double movement, and he just about got to the line. So, but at the time, I know it was a little contentious, and that was about it.
I'll say,
well, there was the try ruled out by the obstruction, weren't there, as well? Sorry, in the second half.
Yeah, again, there was no. In my head, there was no controversy about any of the decisions. You could completely argue it. I mean, there's no. Wigan were the better team.
Yeah.
No
one can argue the result. I do think that obstruction, no try, should have been given us a try. But other than that, it wouldn't have affected the fact that Wigan would have still won the game, and I'm certain of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, I don't know if you're going to go on to talk about stats, but I'm looking here, and it says here that Wigan completed at 94%. They had 31 completed sets out of 33. So you can't really argue with that, can you? As a team, if you're completing at that level, you're basically not giving the opposition much of a chance.
No, exactly.
So,
Wigan forced. They forced a few goal line dropouts where they didn't score tries, but they also defended their own line really well and didn't open up much opportunities for Warrington. So they did everything right, I think, in this game. Pretty much did Wigan. One thing that made me laugh was after Harvey Levette scored the first try of the game, the Sky footage picked up on Kevin Brown saying that we're absolutely dominating and they can't live with our middles, or words to that effect. And I just think, was someone watching that from Wigan and got the word down to the forwards? Because after that try, their forwards made no, and I'm not even particularly sure it was the forwards who set the platform for that one, but they made no inroads at all. Wigan were physically bruising and absolutely dominated things from there on out.
Well, to be fair to Kevin, he were a bit charged up for this one, wasn't he? He were a bit chipper, wasn't he? Kind of having a word in a few ears, and
him and Tompkins.
They were keen to exchange pleasantries with each other a lot, weren't they? But yeah, I mean I guess that's just the atmosphere, big game and all that. But But yeah, he's just trying to G his team up, isn't he? But there you go.
Where do you think the Williams try ranks in the best tries of Magic Weekend so far, day one? And well, we'll talk about the day two tries when we get to day two.